सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। हरिः ओं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओं. We are in chapter 6 and we have completed up to 30th sloka. We will proceed to 31st sloka. Paramatma started. So Paramatma is giving dhyana phalam from sloka number 29 to 32. We'll see the 31st sloka. Sarvabhutastitam yo mam bhajetyekattvamastitaha सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि सयोगी मयि वर्तते. यः एकत्वम् आस्थितः सर्वभूतस्थितं मां भजति सः योगी सर्वथा वर्तमानः अपि मयि वर्तते. आस्थितः means one who has attained. Ekatvam, the vision of oneness. Yaha mam bhajati sarvabhutastitam, one who worships me as one who is present in all beings. Saha yogi, only that meditator is the correct yogi. Vartate mayi, he abides in me. Api vartamanaha sarvataha. Even though he is engaged every way, in every different way, in different paths of his life, he is abiding in me. One who has attained oneness worships me, and who sees my presence in all beings, that very yogi, that very meditator abides in me, though engaged in every way. Well, previously I looked upon God as a person, Sakara Ishvara, with all the limitations, weaknesses of human beings, because I looked upon God as a human being. He will have hunger, thirst, and even he will accumulate dirt like any one of us. Therefore, my expression of bhakti was also in that manner. I have to take bath because I become dirty if I don't take bath. Therefore, when I look upon God also as a human being, I have to give him bath regularly. So I'll say Snanam Samarpayami, Snananantaram Achamaniyam Samarpayami. Thereafter, Vastram Samarpayami. That too not original Vastram. Vastrardham Akshatan Samarpayami. The fellow doesn't offer Vastram, he says, I will offer Akshatas in lieu of Vastra. God requires dress to protect him from impurity and all ornaments he needs. So we say, Abharanartham Akshatan Samarpayami. So God also requires decorating like us, makeup like us, because we imagine God as a human being. All those things, the Shodasa Upachara Puja, depends upon my appreciation of God as a person. But when I know the impersonal, ultimate, absolute God, I see all these upacharas are really apacharas. How? Because for an all-pervading Nirguna Parabrahma, I cannot do puja like this. I cannot wash his legs because he has no legs and no hands and no form as such. I cannot make him seated on a simhasanam. I cannot invite him because there is no place where he is not. So that way all the upacharas becomes apacharas. So Shankara Bhagavatpada in his Para Puja, he appeals to God. How can I ever do Shodasa Puja to you? Because I cannot wash your hands, I cannot wash your legs, I cannot offer you anything, everything is you. There's nothing that you are not. Ettad adresyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achachusrotram tadapanipadam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susushmam tadavyayam yadbhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha. In Mundakopanishad, we say that he cannot be grasped, he cannot be divided into gotra, varna like that. You cannot see him with eyes, you cannot hear him, he doesn't have hands, nor he has legs. Like that, the description vividly says that he is nirgunam. So, all these pujas will be only at a lower stage. So, God has never been away from such a jnani. He doesn't need to invite him for puja and send him after the puja. Avahana, and then he will say at the end, Yadasthanam praveshayami. So I send you back to your place. So such problems will not be there because God, who is all pervading, cannot be invited nor he can be sent. Therefore, the very jnanam itself is the expression of bhakti here. This is the parakashta, bhakti parakashta. Therefore, he says, Paramatma says, Yaha, this jnana nishta, this greatest bhakta of mine, maam bhajati, worships me. Not in regular form of Shodasa Puja, with Ekadasa Dravyam for Abhishekam. He will not do all that. How does he worship? The very perception of me everywhere is the expression of bhakti. So, ekatvam astitaha san bhajati, resorting to the vision of Lord's oneness. Resorting to the vision of what? Ekatvam, advitiyatvam, the infinite nature of Lord. Where is he located? Sarvabhuta sthitam, the Lord who is present in every living being, as very life, because of which all the living beings do live. Therefore, Sarvabhuta sthitam, Chaitanya Rupam, Ishwaram, Ekatva Drishtim Astitaha, remaining in the Advaita Drishti, he worships me. There is no special action of devotion. And that is why when they take to this jnanam, they take to sannyasa asrama, so that they need not do any form of regular worship. In 4 ashramas, sannyasi need not do any formal worship. So that is the advantage in that ashrama. And therefore, sarvatra vartamanopi, whatever be the lifestyle he adopts, such a jnani chooses, whatever may be the ashrama he is in, he might be in Brahmacharya ashrama, or he might be in Gruhastha ashrama, or he might be in Gruhastha ashrama doing business, or he might be in Vanaprastha ashrama. Whatever be the profession he has, whatever be the type of lifestyle he adopts, that does not matter. He can be in any duty. The transformation for him is within. The external transformation is not compulsory for a jnani. The external outfit is not compulsory for a jnani. The internal transformation is very important. The antara sannyasam is very important. Saha yogi, such a jnani, and such a jnana nishta, mai vartate. Mai vartate means he is always in me, he abides in me. He need not go to temples to see God, because for him, God is not confined only to a temple. The higher stages, the whole creation is abode of the Lord. In the initial stage, he requires all these temples and puja mandirs and God's, pictures. All these are required in the starting stage. Now, when he reached a stage where he can see God everywhere, in every person, in everything, then there is no need for him to go to a temple and have God's darshan. So, this does not mean one has to stop going to a temple. One can go to temple, but you need not have that as a compulsory thing to see God. If you go to temple and see God, it is okay. Even if you do not see God in a temple, you can see him everywhere. Wherever you transact, wherever you go, whatever you experience, you can see and understand. You can experience the divine experience. That is why in Puranic story, they tell like this: a jnani was sleeping in temple hall. Some passerby came and saw him, stretching his legs towards the altar. So he scolded that man and said, don't you have common sense? How can you stretch your legs towards the God? Then the jnani said, I am very weak, so kindly lift my legs and keep where God is not there. So that person lifted his legs and kept in the direction opposite to God. But then again God appeared there in that direction. So wherever he keeps the legs, the God appears. So for a jnani, God is all pervading. God is everywhere. 32nd sloka. Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pasyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. Hey Arjuna, Atma yaha upamyena sarvatra sukham va yadi va dukkham samam pasyati saha yogi paramo mataha. O Arjuna, Atmaupamyena, keeping himself as the standard, Saha yogi, that meditator, Yaha pasyati, who sees Sukhamva, pleasure, Yadiva dukkham. Dukkham means pain. Samam, he looks both these things alike. Sarvatra, in all. Mataha is considered to be Paramaha, the greatest person. O Arjuna, keeping himself as a standard, that yogi who sees pleasure and pain alike in all is considered to be the greatest. So here Krishna Paramatma says, Jnani's mind expands to such an extent that he identifies with all bodies as his own body. Previously, he was identifying himself with his own body. Now he knows that I am Atma. As Atma, I am not only in this body, but also in all bodies. I am very Atma behind all bodies. And therefore, all bodies becomes like my bodies, my hands, my legs. And because of this universal identification, it's a great concept and great feeling of a jnani. Paramatma says, a jnani cannot hurt anyone because hurting any living being is as though hurting himself. Because of universal identification. Previously, I could comfortably hurt anyone, but now it is not possible. Therefore, a jnani becomes an embodiment of compassion, an embodiment of sympathy, an embodiment of ahimsa. Because if anyone feels pain, he also is capable of seeing the pain of everyone. He has that empathy by which he intensely appreciates the pain of everyone. And therefore, he cannot cause pain to anyone. And if there is a pain to any person, anyone, then immediately and automatically he goes to his rescue. And Paramatma says, Atmopamyena sarvatra pasyati. He looks at every living being as himself. Because the same Atma is in everyone. So Atmopamyena, taking himself as a standard, he looks every living being samam pasyati. He does not have partiality or selfishness. He does not consider his body as more important than other bodies. Because all bodies he equally identifies with himself. Therefore, samam pasyati. This is the universal value. What is universal value? What I do not want others to do to me, I should not do to others. Because others are exactly like me. If I do not want to hurt, if I do not want to be hurt, then I should not hurt anyone. This is what he meant, samam pasyati. Sukham va yadiva dukkham. So, he appreciates the sukham of somebody and dukkham, he gets equally bad when somebody is in dukkham. If somebody is in sukham, he appreciates. He will not feel jealous. If somebody is in dukkham, he will not say, okay, you deserve it. He will never say, because he feels it is his dukkham. He will show empathy. So that narrowness will go off. The narrow identity will go away. Earlier, I am a Hyderabadi. Now, I grow to the level of India. Then I grow further to the level of living being. Then I grow further to the level of being. So like that, my aspect expands because aham atma asmi. Aham nija paroveti. Ganana laguchetasam. Udara charitanam tu. Vasudaiva kutumbakam. small petty-minded people think this is mine and these are my people, like that he will have a short-sightedness. Whereas Udara Charitanam, for the noble people, the entire world is their family. Mata tu Parvati Devi, Pita Devo Maheshwaraha, Bandava Sivabhaktascha, Swadeso Bhuvanatrayam. What is his Swadesam? It is not India. It is no more India. Bhuvanatrayam, all the three lokas. So that is how he expanded his mind. As Atma, he is, having that expanded feeling. So my parents are Parvati Parameshwara, and my Swadesam is all three lokas. So this kind of feeling he has. So up to 32nd sloka, Paramatma has given 4 different topics. What are the 4 different topics? One is Bahiranga Sadhanas. Bahiranga Sadhanas means the rules and regulations one has to observe in general, anytime. Then Antaranga Sadhanani. Antaranga Sadhanani are the rules one has to observe just before meditation. Then Dhyana Swarupam also Paramatma discussed. In Dhyana Swarupam, the actual process of Dhyana Paramatma discussed. Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, like that, Paramatma has given the entire process. This is essentially to relive the Vedantic teaching. Whatever the student absorbed in the class, that lesson he has to relive in the Nididhyasanam. So that is what we call Vedantic meditation or Nididhyasanam. So this is the third topic called the Dhyana Swarupam. Then fourth topic is Dhyana Phalam, Sarvatra Samadarsanam. That is what we have discussed right now. It started with the 29th sloka and ended with the 32nd sloka. Now the fifth topic we are going to enter. This is what Paramatma is giving as a reply to Arjuna. This is what we call Dhyana Pratibandakani, the obstacles to Dhyanam. They are discussed from sloka number 33 up to 36. So Paramatma gives remedies to, Paramatma tells what are the obstacles and also gives remedies to these obstacles. In Gaudapada's Mandukya Karikas, he discussed about the obstacles of the mind in 10 different slokas. In 40th sloka, Gaudapada says, Manaso nigrahayattam abhayam sarvayoginam dukkakshaya prabodascha apyakshaya santirevacha. And how to discipline the mind is being discussed now. If you do not discipline the mind, what is the difficulty? One may have that question. If one doesn't discipline the mind, he will not reap the profits of the Vedantic knowledge, the Vedantic wisdom. So the knowledge will stay in the mind. It will reside in the mind just as an academic knowledge. So if you want to reap the profits, if you want to become Jivan Mukta, you have to necessarily discipline the mind. So this is what we call samam. Samam is more important. If you have samam, the disciplined mind, automatically everything sets in. In Mandukya Karikas, Paramatma says there are 4 obstacles for dhyana. These obstacles pertain to mind. There are 4 stumbling blocks in the mind which will not allow you to do the meditation. So you have to discipline the mind, means you have to see that these obstacles will not come in your way when you meditate. What are they? These 4 obstacles are laya, vikshepam, kashayam, rasaswadam. I repeat, laya, vikshepam, kashayam, rasaswadam. The first obstacle, laya, means to go into a sleepy mood. So while meditation, you doze off, you go to sleep. This is the common complaint. Most of the meditators say, I'm unable to concentrate, I'm getting sleep. This is the greatest obstacle one will have. And some people feel guilty about it. They do not know this is a universal fact. That is why when they are doing this group meditation, they switch off the lights so that if you doze off, you are not watched. You don't stand out. So this is because of the dominance of tamas. This is tamah pradhanam. So the first obstacle is called laya. Laya means going into sleep. The sleep is the obstacle. Then vikshepam. In the first laya, your mind is, underactive. In vikshepam, the mind is overactive. Here, the mind wanders and, it roams all over the world and will not allow you to concentrate on the object to be concentrated. If you want to have Atmanishta, other than Atma, it keeps on thinking all kinds of worldly things. So, this is Rajoguna Pradhanam. This is because of Rajasic nature. So, this Vikshepam is another obstacle in the mind. Then the third one is Kashayam. Kashayam means the mind is not dull, nor it is overactive. It becomes blank. It becomes, a kind of stillness. It is not tranquil mind. It becomes a kind of non-functional. This is called stabdhi bhava. A kind of shock. It undergoes a shock. Suppose you listen to a news which is not expected, a sudden news which is very disastrous, then you go into a shock. You do not know how to talk, how to express. So that kind of shock is called kashayam, stabdhi bhavam. This is how Vidya explains in Druk Drusya Vivekam. In a poem called Home They Brought the Warrior Dead. They bring the warrior who died in the war home and keep the corpse in front of the wife. The wife goes into a shock. She doesn't cry, she doesn't talk, she doesn't express anything. She goes into a shock. That is a very bad situation. If the situation is continued, it will create all kinds of health issues. People may die also. So the relatives, the kith and kin, everybody tried their way to make her weep so that she can give vent to her feelings. None of them worked. Then an old lady came with the kid, a small kid, a month's baby, and she kept her in the lap of that lady. That baby is her daughter. So seeing that baby, she started weeping. What can I tell this baby? When this baby grows, what can I tell? So like that, you have this kind of situation. This is called kashayam. Suppose a wild elephant suddenly stands in front of you and there is no mahout nearby. Then what kind of feeling you have? You get a feeling of shock. You cannot talk, nor you can express anything. So that kind of stabdi bhavam is called kashayam. So this is one obstacle. Then the fourth one is rasaswadam. Rasaswadam means when you are successful in meditation, you get some tranquility, peace and all that during meditation. Then that kind of pleasant experience becomes an addiction. The moment you come out, you feel irritated. If there is anybody disturbing your meditation, if somebody rings up your calling bell, or if there's a phone ring, if there's a sound in the kitchen, you get disturbed. Because you don't want to come out of that pleasant experience. And over a period of time, you become an addict to that type of happiness, and you get a situation wherein you want to be always in meditation only, and you don't want to come out of that and you don't want to come out of this and do your meditation. You want to continue your meditation throughout the day. You don't want to be active and take up your responsibility. So this is an obstacle. Getting the pleasure and getting addicted to the pleasure is also an obstacle for dhyanam. Because the dhyanam will make you understand. The dhyanam should give you that nishta, atmanishta. And you should be able to appreciate the transactional world is all midya. And you are the Purna Purusha. Like that, the jnanam should give you a kind of backup. And you should not get addicted to the joy you derive out of this. This is only koshanandam, because the moment you come out of the meditation, you lose that anandam. So this is again an obstacle. So we have four obstacles: laya, vikshepam, kashayam, rasaswadam. Then dhyana pratibandhaka pariharani. That means the remedies for the obstacles of dhyana also is mentioned in Mandukya Karikas. The first obstacle is called laya. How to get out of this problem of laya. Laya means going into sleep while meditation. So first you should know why you are getting sleep. So by knowing the reason and addressing that reason, you can avoid the sleep. And by practice also, you can avoid the sleep. So, why you are getting sleep? If you overeat, you get sleep. If you have indigestion also, you get sleep. So, you should see that you maintain a good health. You don't eat too much before meditation. And if there's any indigestion issues, you have to address that. So, this is one difficulty. And the second difficulty is if you don't sleep properly, if you sleep only less hours and do a lot of work, then you are bound to sleep during meditation. So you have to see that you enjoy the sufficient dose of your sleep in a day. Whatever be the period of your sleep, you should have that sleep. You should not have sleepless days. If you spend sleepless days, then that will not allow you to continue in the meditation. You doze off when you start meditation. Then the fourth one is, supposing you do a particular thing regularly, you are habituated to that kind of thing, the force of habit. So, when you close your eyes, it is natural that, the body understands you are going to sleep. So, the body may mistake that you want sleep. So, you have to deliberately suggest the body, I am not going for sleep. I am going to meditate. This kind of the thought you have to give. And then sankalpa you have to make and then do the meditation. So that you don't doze off. Then the vikshepam, how to avoid the vikshepam. For vikshepam, when you have, mind wavering, then there are many methods how to concentrate on a particular thing, one pointed concentration. That sajatiya vritti pravaha. So you have to have the same thought continuing. So that kind of abhyasam you have to make. In Dvaita Bhakti, they say, yatra yatra manoyati tatra tatra tava pada darsanam. So wherever my mind goes, I see your, holy feet. So like that, wherever the mind goes, you must see Atma and bring it back to Atma Darsana. So if it goes to some person, you can, say, this is also Atma Swarupam. And then you come back to the Atma. Like that, you can have umpteen ways to achieve concentration. There are so many exercises. Playing a game or, doing japam. These are all the various exercises which can help you to concentrate. So, this anyway Paramatma is going to discuss in future in detail. We will again discuss that. Then Kashaya Parishkaram. Kashaya Parishkaram means when mind goes in a shock, how to resolve that. So, this is due to excessive feeling of something. That may be some anger or pain, or it may be sorrow or feeling of guilt, feeling of jealousy, anything it can be. They cannot be expressed. They cannot be, shared with people. And they make you dull and fuse your mind. They make your mind non-functional. So what you have to do is go to a solitary place. Go to a place where people are not there. Then express whatever you want to express loudly. Go to a seashore. If you want to weep, you can weep. If you want to shout on somebody, you can shout to the ocean. Like that expression, if you want to punch, you can punch. So that way you express whatever you want to. You have to give a vent to the expression. Then you can, cure this kashaya. Otherwise, it will create a great obstacle for meditation. Whenever you want to meditate, the kashayam will come in a way. So you cannot continue the kashayam. Then the last and not the least is rasaswadam. You are getting pleasure and you don't want to miss that pleasant experience, and you want to sit in meditation forever and for hours and hours and hours. Sit in meditation and don't want to do any transaction in day-to-day life. So if that be the case, that means you became an addict. So you have to educate your mind. You have to tell your mind that you are Purna Purushaha. Aham Purnaha Asmi. I don't need the Ananda from the meditation. The Ananda I derive from the meditation is only Koshananda, not Atmananda. So this is not my target. You have to understand this is also an experienced thing. Whatever I experience is not me. I am different from the experience. So I am ever the experiencer, not the experienced thing. So you should understand this and resolve this by means of education, by means of reliving the teaching that is given to you by your Acharya. So that way you can process all the four different obstacles, and then you can have your meditation successfully. You can successfully meditate, perform your nididhyasana. So let us see the 33rd sloka. Arjuna Vacha Yoyum Yogastvaya Proktaha Samyena Madhusudana Etasyaham na pasyami chanchalatvat sthitim stiram. Arjuna Vacha, Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, O Krishna, the destroyer of Madhu and Kaitaba, Aham na pasyami, I do not see. Stiram sthitim, the study and existence of this. Yaha aham yogaha proktaha was imparted by you, samyena, as sameness. Paramatma was talking about the sarvatra samadarsanam, the universal vision of oneness. So Arjuna says he is unable to perceive this because of the chanchala manaha, because of the wavering mind. So the fifth topic which we are going to deal with, dhyana pratibandhakani, dhyana pratibandha pariharakani. So the obstacles of dhyana and the remedies of dhyana we have discussed just now. So out of the four, that is laya, vikshepa, kashayam and rasaswadam, Arjuna was mentioning about vikshepa, the wavering mind. So he says, ayam yogaha, dhyana yogaha, tvaya proktaha. Whatever you advocated, whatever you proposed, this Vedantic meditation, I am unable to remember, I am unable to retain, because my mind is so much wavering and vacillating. Samyena, you are proposing that Atma Darsana Rupena Swarupanishta. So you mentioned that we have to stay in Atma Swarupam. You mentioned that I am the Chaitanya Swarupa. The mind and the body, they are subject to all kinds of changes. But the changeless Sakshi, that is my real self. So, in that Atma Vritti, I must stay. You mentioned all this, I understand. Etasyaham sthiram sthitim na pasyami. Though you mentioned all this, I am unable to remember this at the time of meditation. I can understand this, but I am unable to remember this, retain this. So, if you look at the students, there are three kinds of students. Uttama Vidyarthi, Madhyama Vidyarthi, Adhama Vidyarthi. They can be categorized by their Grahanam and Dharana Shakti. Grahanam means absorption of the teaching. Dharana is retention of the teaching. Absorption and retention. Both are very good for a Uttama Vidyarthi, for a better student. It is always at a high level, that both absorption and retention, a good student will always have at a high degree. Whereas Madhyama Vidyarthi, he can understand but he cannot retain. That is the problem. Uttam Vidyarthi can understand and retain and use it whenever the need comes. Whereas Madhyama Vidyarthi understands but he cannot use it at the time of need because he can't retain it. Then Adhama Vidyarthi, he cannot understand, he cannot retain. According to the description, Arjuna falls under the second category, that is Madhyama Vidyarthi. He claims that he cannot retain this knowledge at the time of meditation. Sthiram sthitim, he says, na pasyami. Sthiram sthitim means dharana shakti, retention power. Na pasyami means I don't have that. So during meditation, the mind runs all over the world. Why? Because of the chanchalatvat. Because the mind is always, it is wavering. Mind is chanchalam. That is the very nature of the mind. So, he is having this kind of mind because of the Rajogunam. When one person is Rajoguna Pradhana, his mind is overactive. He cannot retain the mind on a particular thing. So that is the issue. So Paramatma explains more in detail how to concentrate, how to discipline the mind. So we will see more in next class. Om Tat Sat Sarvam Sri Krishnarpanamastu.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.